Hello, everybody. My name is Ivan Barreto, and this is my presentation on our Week 7 discussion board. So, first up is 5 things that the average American may not know about the concept of government bureaucracy. So, the first one is that bureaucracy exists in private and public, and bureaucracy describes structures of offices, rules, and tasks used by any institution. So, this could be all the way from Amazon or all the way up to the FBI, and this is just used to coordinate complex work. And the next one is that bureaucrats do more than just enforce laws, they also create regulations. So in addition to implementing legislation, they can also settle disputes, and this just kind of mimics the legislative and judicial powers. Next up is the separation of powers can become blurry when the agencies decide to legislate and judge. And because the bureaucracies can both create regulations and resolve conflicts, the roles can overlap with Congress also, and this can raise concerns about checks and balance. And next up is that the agencies often employ experts because they are more efficient than the Congress at that specific like field, for example. So bureaucrats who usually have a subject matter and they are an expert in that, they can be used to fill the gaps and implement them more effectively. This way, the government can operate better. And lastly, would be that bureaucracies can drift from the original intentions and instead get captured by special interests. So, for example, unelected officials can interpret the laws based on personal or agency preferences, and this can lead to a bureaucratic drift. Next up, I have 5 things the average American may not know about the American judicial system. So, the first thing is that judicial review is not in the Constitution. So yeah, it is not written in the Constitution, and it was actually established through the landmark Supreme Court case of Marbury versus Madison in the year 1803. And next up is that the judicial branch is supposed to be the weakest branch, and it was assigned this way because it's meant to be like the least dangerous branch of government, and this is because it doesn't have control over the military, um, or the budget. But the judicial review does give it significant power. And the next one is that the courts can strike down state and federal laws. So, most people think that the Supreme Court only deals with national laws, but it can also overturn state laws if those conflict with the US Constitution. Next up is that justices and decisions can be influenced by personal beliefs. So, although judges are supposed to be impartial, um, in the Crash Course video, it explained how ideology or personal interpretation of the Constitution can influence rulings. And next up would be that judicial review is rare, but it is also very powerful. So the Supreme Court doesn't often use judicial review, but when it does, it can have really big consequences. Like for example, in Brown Brown versus Board of Education, or Roe versus Wade. And lastly, 5 things that I did not know 7 weeks ago. So the first thing was just more about like the local politics going on in Riverside, like all the officials and all the different kinds that just affect my city. And the next one would be that the role of media and how it has a um role in like our elections, for example. And the next one would be just the differences between the Senate and the House, because I remember like during election year, I would always see like the Senate and the House, and I never really knew like what they do. And the next one would be just about bureaucracies. And to be honest, before the course, I think I might have heard of them, but I never knew anything about them. So I definitely was able to learn more about them and understand um what they do and how they influence our government. And the next one would just be political action committees. And before the course, I've never actually heard of this, but I was actually able to learn what they do and how they impact politics. And that is it. Thank you. Have a good day.